Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I say a lot and I've noticed that lately. I will try to work on it, but it's a little hard. There we go again. This is going to be a mukbang. I made gluten-free macaroni and cheese. This is not necessarily the healthiest thing in the world, but I'm hungry. So, it's gonna be a mukbang, but we're also gonna talk about something very serious and something that is a part of my life and a part of me and a part of who I am. So today we're going to talk about bipolar disorder. So where do we begin? This is going to be my journey with it. And I'm going to fit as much as I can in a 15-minute time span. But I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder when I was a senior in high school. Mind you, I had a long mental health journey before my senior year of high school. I started taking antidepressants when I was in 5th grade. I really can't tell you why. I don't really remember. I just remember going through a lot of stuff. My parents were kind of like fighting a lot. My parents got divorced, officially divorced when I was in high school, I'm pretty sure. But they were kind of going through stuff when I was in junior high, and I kind of was just like all over the place as a kid. Everyone always described me as really dramatic, which I am. I'm a dramatic person. But there was definitely more to it. I don't remember a lot of my high school years, and I actually just remembered why I don't remember. Not remembered, but I actually just found out why I don't remember a lot of my high school years. I had a friend telling me how crazy I was in high school. And I would always be like, no, I wasn't. I don't remember that. And he would tell me all these like crazy things that I used to do. But I was like running through the hallways and doing all this crazy stuff. And I would look at him and be like, no, I didn't. And then one day I went to my therapist. And I talked to him about it. And I was like, why don't I remember doing these things? I don't remember any of this. And he looked at me and he said, Mercedes, you know why you don't remember? Because you were manic when you were in high school. And I know that because I've been talking to you since you were a sophomore in high school. And it was hard to have a substantial conversation with you in that point in your life. You were all over the place, up and down, and talked quickly and like didn't really know what was going on in my head ever. So I just realized that I was manic all through high school. And I vaguely remember little things that do tell me that I did have a lot of mania when I was in high school. I was also a cutter in high school. I also had a really bad eating disorder. I had an eating disorder from the time I was in 7th grade until I was a sophomore in high school. I tried to kill myself when I was a sophomore in high school. So there was a lot of things pointing to that there was something wrong with me, but we really couldn't figure out what. Mania is something that's hard to explain when you don't have bipolar disorder. It's very much what it sounds like. A manic person talks really fast. Now, when I'm in a manic state of mind, I talk really fast. I stutter a lot. It's hard for me to get things out because I can't focus. And I don't know, I don't know how many people I know are actually watching this, but a lot of the people that I know that I'm close to know that I have this tattoo on my arm. And let me see if I can get my arm out to show you guys. This is my tattoo. See the head on that? When I was Pinteresting tattoo ideas, I came across just a torso with a head like that. And then I came across a full body. But when I saw that torso picture and I saw the head that looked like that, I immediately was drawn to it. Because that's the perfect way to describe what goes on in my brain. It's a constant movement of thoughts. Normal people can focus, right? Normal people can take a thought and focus on it and think about that one thing to whatever task or whatever thing that they're doing. When I'm manic, I cannot focus on anything. It is like millions and millions of thoughts are running through my head at full force speed, almost like someone is playing like a ping pong match in my head, and that ping pong ball just keeps going like this, but it's thousands of ping pong balls. And when you try to explain that to people, people don't get it, which I totally understand, because unless you've actually thought like that, you'll never understand what it's like to think like that. But it gets frustrating. It gets frustrating to not be able to focus on anything. It gets frustrating when you have these thoughts that you have no idea why these thoughts are running through your head, things that mean absolutely nothing. It is scary and frustrating and an annoyance. And I have a lot of anxiety from it, but I haven't felt that way in a long time up until recently. I was medicated well. I was on the right dosage of medications and what I needed to be taking, but some stressful situations happened in my life. And unfortunately, when stress gets brought upon you, when you have bipolar disorder, it brings on a manic or depressive episode. Now, I was going back and forth between mania and depression very rapidly between the last few weeks. And when your mood is all over the place like that, it's very hard to function in everyday life. It's hard for you to be at work. It's hard for you to do anything. Your house gets dirty. You don't want to get out of bed, or you're out of bed and you're acting like a crazy person. And people that have seen me in these states can tell when I am and when I'm not like that. And to not be able to control what's happening in your head is one of the scariest things. And I would not wish it upon anybody. There's so much more going into it, but it's so hard to sit down and try to explain to people what goes on in my head. And the hardest part for me is seeing the people around me not being able to help me when I'm going through these things, especially my mom. I could not imagine growing up with a child like me. I've had emotional problems from the day that I can remember having them. And, that is caused because I was born with this mental illness, and people don't talk about things like this. And it's such a stigma to talk about mental illness, but I want to not make it a stigma anymore. I am not my mental illness, but it is part of me. It is not all of me and will never be all of me, but it is part of me, and it's something that I have to live with the rest of my life, and I struggle with that. I struggle with the fact that I have to live with this for the rest of my life. But I go to therapy, I see a psych doctor, I take my medication, I try to do everything I can to keep my mind at bay. I make bracelets, I color in coloring books, I read, I do crossword puzzles, I do Sudoku, I watch YouTube videos, I clean, I cook, anything to keep my mind occupied when I'm going through these manic phases. I was just going through such a hard time to where I needed to go to my doctor, and I know that, and I'm aware of that. And I'm glad I'm at a point in my life where I can be aware when something is happening to me, or when I'm being manic, or when I'm being depressive. A lot of people have not gotten to that point of their mental illness, and I have. I've been dealing with it for a long time, and I've gotten to a point where I can stand back and look at myself and say, okay, something is happening to you right now, and you have to figure out what it is. So I call my therapist. I call my psych doctor. I went to my psych doctor. She changed my meds a little bit, upped my dosage just a little bit, and I'm already feeling better. I already feel more like myself again. Just that little bit, and I'm not all for medication, but I know that I have to take it because it's not something that I can control. I have a chemical imbalance in my brain. I was born with it. That's not something that can be fixed with healthy eating and exercise. It can be helped, and I can make myself feel a little better, but a chemical imbalance cannot be fixed without fixing the chemical imbalance. And by doing that, I have to take medication. I am an advocate for medication for myself because I know it helps me, but I also take all of the necessary steps that I need to take in order to feel better. Like I said, I clean, I cook, I do all these things when I'm going through this, because if I don't, I will go crazy. And going crazy doesn't mean I'm going to do anything insane. It's just me in my head. It's hard for me to do things. It's hard for me to focus. It's hard for me to work at my job. And I don't ever want to be one of those people that is so stuck in their mental illness that they cannot do things. They cannot work. They cannot take care of themselves. They cannot clean their house. I always tell people that are struggling that no matter how hard it is, if you can't get yourself out of bed in the morning, the only thing you can do is get yourself out of bed in the morning. I know that sounds like the most ridiculous advice you could ever give anybody, but it's the best advice you could ever hear. When you can't do something, when you look at your bedroom and you look at it and you're already overwhelmed with how dirty it is because you've let it get to that point, the only thing you can do is start little by little, whether it's cleaning up the water bottles in your bedroom, or it's picking up the clothes off the floor and putting them in a basket. You have to start somewhere. I guess I'm making this because not a lot of people talk about these things, and they need to be talked about. And if there's ever anybody out there struggling with something like this, and they need someone to talk to about it, please do not ever hesitate to talk to me. I enjoy helping other people. I enjoy talking to other people. And I know a lot about mental illness. I've dealt with it most of my life. But it doesn't define me. It doesn't define who I am on the inside. I know that I am a good person on the inside. And no matter how hard this gets, no matter how frustrated I get with the fact that I will have to live with this for the rest of my life, I know that I can. And I know that I will. Sorry. Please don't ever hesitate to talk to me. Anybody, whether you're a stranger or not. Part of my health and wellness journey is to talk to people about my health and wellness journey and talk to people about my issues and let people know that they are not alone. You are not alone in this fight, in any fight, whether it's anxiety, bipolar, borderline personality, schizophrenia. You are not alone, and I promise you that. That's really all I have for this, and I really hope this is one that people watch because it means a lot to me. Thank you guys for listening, and I hope you continue to enjoy my journey.